This is the EWN Podcast Network.
Welcome to Late Boomers, our podcast guide to creating your third act with style, power, and impact. Hi, I'm Cathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. Join us as we bring you conversations with successful entrepreneurs, entertainers, and people with vision who are making a difference in the world.
Everyone has a story, and we'll take you along for the ride on each interview, recounting the journey our guests have taken to get where they are, inspiring you to create your own path to success. Let's get started. Welcome to the Late Boomers podcast, where we bring you inspiring stories of people creating new chapters in life with style, power, and impact. I'm Cathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins. On Late Boomers, we love to talk about reinvention, how people find new passions and careers and callings in the second half of life. And because really it's never too late to do something extraordinary.
That's right. Sometimes the biggest opportunities come after we think the best years are behind us, when experience, perspective, and humor start to come together.
And what we've seen in our podcasts and life, really, is so many examples of people who take what they've learned, pivot, and find something even more meaningful, whether it's writing a book or launching a business or taking the stage or just living with more joy and purpose.
And that brings us to today's guest, someone who embodies all of that.
Our guest today is Fritz Coleman, a legendary Los Angeles weatherman who spent decades on television bringing calm and humor to Southern California's very unpredictable weather.
But Fritz didn't stop there. He's also an award-winning stand-up comedian, storyteller, and now a podcaster himself. His podcast, Media Path, dives into fascinating conversations about culture, creativity, and life after broadcasting.
And Fritz proves you can reinvent yourself, stay creative, and keep making people smile at any age. Fritz, welcome to Late Boomers.
Wow, you perfectly described my life. And I love talking to my demographic. It's nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Welcome. Well, Fritz, you've had such an iconic career in Los Angeles broadcasting. So what made you decide to make the leap into stand-up and podcasting?
Well, very few people know this story. And real meteorologists hate this story, but I'm going to tell you this.
Yeah.
I was hired to do the weather from working at the Comedy Store. I was doing a show. I was working at the Comedy Store in 1982, and my friend, who was an anchor person at Channel 4, brought his wife, his boss and his boss's wife to see me do a show. And I had talked in my show at the Comedy Store about having done the weather in the Navy. I worked for Armed Forces Radio and Television when I was in the Navy, which was my introduction to my career. But I didn't know anything about the weather, but that didn't seem to matter to the Navy. And so I just made stuff up. And I had
You made it up.
I had some anecdotes about that. And after my show at the Comedy Store was over, I went backstage to meet this gentleman. And he said, "This is an odd question, but do you have any desire to come to Channel 4 and do some vacation relief weather forecasting for me and weekend, fill in? I have guys that need a vacation." I said, "You did hear me say I don't know anything about the weather." And the guy said, "Perfect. There's no weather in California. This will work out great."
Oh, so sure.
I had to audition. I got the job, and I did a weekend fill-in for 2 years. And then the predecessor to the weekday job, the full-time job, left, and I was promoted to the weekday weathercaster, where I did the 5, 6, and 11 o'clock news. And I retired 2 weeks shy of my 40th anniversary. I always tell people it was the greatest stroke of show business luck since that woman was discovered at Schwab's Pharmacy in the 40s.
Well, it shows you
That
got to put
woman.
yourself in the right place at the right time, right? Don't they say
No,
that?
1,000%. I have been the beneficiary of some astonishing good luck in my life. I just hope I haven't run out of it, but it's truly what it is. It's about being at the right place at the right time and not being afraid to try something that you hadn't considered. I didn't come to California to be a weatherman. I came to be a comedian. But this opportunity presented itself. I had 2 children that I was trying to provide a stable home for. I didn't want to go on the road anymore as a comic because I was not known, so I wasn't making any money. This was the perfect opportunity. So really, the only thing I brought to the table was I wasn't afraid to try something I hadn't considered.
Wow.
So what
that's
about the
great
jump
advice.
then after the broadcasting, the jump
After the
to
broadcasting, it was,
podcasting
truthfully,
and comedy?
while I was doing the weather, I continued to perform. My job was 5, 6, and 11 o'clock news. I would go to work about noon. It was a split shift. I would go to work at noon every day. I would prepare the 5 and 6 broadcasts. I would do the 5 and 6 broadcast. And if the weather was tranquil, we weren't in the middle of an El Nino siege, I would leave at 6:30 and have to be back about 10 o'clock. And in that time, I would go perform at the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Ice House and those places. So I was working around town the whole time. I never stopped and restarted. I just went to my avocation when I retired.
So so you never really reinvented yourself. You just knew where you were going when you were ready to retire.
I massaged that part of my heart when I retired a little bit more, and it's so much fun. I'm doing nonprofits. I'm on the board of 2 nonprofits, and I'm performing. And to speak to the great issues that you talk about on your wonderful podcast, I'm so happy because I'm spending all of my energy doing things I love, as opposed to doing it for a paycheck or working for the corporate man.
That's pretty special.
Yes.
How would you say your years as a weatherman enhanced your comedy?
Well, being on live television teaches you to not be intimidated by or to react well to unforeseen circumstances like computer glitches or things going awry in the studio. And it taught me to think on my feet. And it also introduced me to the public. It really, it made it easier for me to get comedy jobs around town because people know who I was. And I really learned an interesting thing about television, and that is it's such an intimate medium. When you come into people's homes at the same time every night, say 5:18, every night for 40 years, they incorporate you into their family. It's like you're part of their daily existence. So if Fritz is on at 5:18, that must mean I'm still alive. I don't like the tie he's wearing, but it's good to see him. And you become part of the continuity of people's lives, and that gave me a great respect for fans and people who watch me and.
Yeah, well, you were part of mine for that long.
It's unbelievable.
I tuned into you for the laughs and for the weather.
Yes,
me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm from here.
I was hired because I was a comedian, and in those days, in 1982, my first day on the air was Christmas Eve, 1982, and back in those days. News wasn't as severe as it is now. It's all breaking news and freeway chases and drive-bys and all of it. And there wasn't as much competition. So they didn't mind having somebody in the newscast that was a sort of a lighter touch. I always said that my job was to be the palate cleanser between the tragedy and the sports. I would give people a little breather. And I had the least threatening part of the newscast. And so over time, it was just fantastic. I forgot what your question was, but I'm talking. Just tell me.
Just about how the weatherman thing enhanced your comedy.
Oh yes.
Do you pull stuff from that?
Yes. When you come and hear my show, you'll hear me talk about the weather briefly. That sets the stage. But what I really talk about, particularly in this new show that I have called Unassisted Living, it's for
Mhm.
people of a certain age. I say if
Mhm.
you have a Medicare card in your wallet, you need to come and see this show. Uh,
Mhm.
it's about what we have in common in the aging process. That's all it's about. And I
Mhm.
found that in these times, these dark times, when there's so much division and rancor and division, even in families, people don't want to be reminded in a comedy show about what divides them. Tell us what we have in common. And I
Right.
talk about
Mhm.
90 minutes, the experience that we all have of getting old. And what resonates with people is it's all the recognition of those same symptoms in themselves. And
Good.
I'm just
Oh,
having a
yeah.
great time doing it.
It's so
Great.
true. Well, you talked earlier about not being afraid to try something new, but what would you say to people? What advice would you give people who feel it might be too late to start over or to continue with their passion, to retire from the real job and continue with their passions?
It's never too late. If you still have
Mhm.
the intellectual faculties and the drive, I have to work. I'm always a person who had to be active during the day. Even in retirement, I'm busier now than I was when I was doing the weather. And
Mhm.
and but
Me too.
that's my character. I have to stay active, and as long as you stay active and do things to massage your mind, read, and
Mhm.
engage in pursuits that stimulate your brain, you're going to be fine. It's never too late. I have more performance opportunities now at 77 years old than I had when I was younger, and I'm so grateful. We just finished our second year at the El Portal Theater, and we have a full show every time. And it's just, honestly, I'm not exaggerating when I say it's a gift. I'm so thankful that I'm able to still generate this kind of business at my age.
It's fabulous, but you've always been known for your humor and optimism, as we talked about. How
Mhm.
important do you think laughter is in staying young and resilient?
It's so
Mm.
important. And I'll tell you, I don't think that the value of comedy has been more important than it is right now because again this is a very threatening world. Every day on the news we're learning about things that divide us. We're talking about the us and them syndrome every day. We're learning about not being able to afford food and all these other things. But I think people appreciate when they come to a show. They come to my show because I don't do any politics at all. uh, I I think people just appreciate that we talk about the common experience of being a human being and what draws us
Mhm.
together. And then after the show, I always meet everybody out in the lobby and they bring me little stories. You know that thing you said about shaving cream? Oh my God, it's so funny. And here's my story. It's just the things we have in common because really all I'm doing is putting into words the feelings other people are having, but they don't have the narcissistic tendency to have to say it in front of an audience. I'm putting into words what they feel, and that's the release. That's the comedy release for them. It's the laugh of recognition. So
Mhm.
I don't think the job of a comic has ever been more important than it is right now.
Oh, yeah. So tell us more about your show, Unassisted Living, and talk a
Okay,
little bit
unassisted
about what
living.
inspired it, Fritz, and
Well,
is there a message that you hope audiences take away?
I think your show perfectly describes the message. It's you will survive and have a long life if you maintain positivity, if you maintain your you can stay in good shape physically, and you maintain an interest in life and maintain the ability to laugh at yourself and other people. And I have gone back 30 years to doing what I call single topic monologues. That is, every show I do takes a topic and then we expand it to an hour and a half. For instance, 30 years ago, I had a show called It's Me, Dad, which was about being a single father and all of the struggles of my family with alcoholism and all those things. And it resonated so well with people. Public television, KCET bought the show and they put it on their broadcast on Father's Day every Father's Day for 7 years in a row because it resonated with people. Then when that show was done, I did one called The Reception, which was about divorce. And then I did one about the news. It was called Tonight at 11. Then I did the first one about aging when I was just discovering I was old, but it hadn't overtaken my life yet, called Defying Gravity. And now this one, Unassisted Living, which is, oh my God, I'm old. There's nothing I can do about it. Let's all hold hands. Somebody said that this show is like a baby boomer support group. It's just the comedy.
Oh, I saw that written and I thought that's so good.
Yeah, I was so happy to get that review. It's a great review.
I love that.
So that's where I like to write about one topic and then just flesh it out. And the various things I talk about are the changes I've made in myself since retirement and not being particularly happy with the person I've become, the combination of the changes since the pandemic and being old and how it's changed my direction, being a grandparent, not being able to see my grandchildren enough, taking too many medications, all that kind of stuff. All the comedics is very old.
Do you ever talk about relationships in old age?
Yes, I talk about that. I get very, as you'll see, I get very personal about the romantic lives of senior citizens.
Cool.
And you'll see that too.
I love it.
Yeah, and I talk about my parents, my relationship with my parents. Their hideous 20 years in a retirement home in Vero Beach, Florida. I talk about going to my 55th high school reunion and all the fruit that bore. So it's just all the stuff we all go through as seniors.
And I think when you go to these events like a reunion, you're making notes back in the hotel room in between because it's so good. It's juicy. Yeah, juicy stuff. Yep. Tell us now about your podcast, Media Path. What inspired you to start it, and what do you love most about doing it?
Well, I have a very good friend, Louise Palanker, who is my co-host, who made her fortune starting a radio company called Premier Radio Networks. And they provided services to radio stations, and they syndicated radio shows. And she did so well, they sold the company to Clear Channel and then to iHeartRadio, and she retired. And she was doing podcasts. And then when I retired, she said, I had a contract at NBC, which precluded me from doing things out on the media outside Channel 4. I couldn't do anything. I was not allowed to do that. So when I retired, she said, why don't you come and do this podcast? And we saw life the same. Our politics were the same. Our movie tastes were the same. Our taste in books. So let's just have a conversation. We'll continue like what we do in life. So we started this thing. We've done 300 episodes. It's like 5 years. And
nice. We're almost up to you. We have 270, I think.
God bless you. You know, and the way you can't look at it, and you know this better than I do. You can't look at it like you look at television. For instance, in television, you get up in the morning and you look at the overnight ratings to make sure you succeeded, and everything is your newscasts are parsed down into 15-minute blocks. Podcasting is not like that. It takes a long time to cut out territory in a podcast. I mean, I think the number is like 180,000 podcasts in America now, some insane number. So I had to put that out of my mind. I do it because I love the conversation. And
Absolutely.
I do it because I love learning things that I didn't know before from our various guests. We had a great guest on yesterday. We do it every Tuesday. His name is John Capellas. He's a Canadian actor. He started in the improv world at Second City in Chicago. He was in all the John Hughes movies, the 16 Candles.
Oh, God, I love those movies.
Breakfast Club. And he had a great story, but he's my age. And so here's a guy that had an arc in show business, and we learned the ups and downs and all the friends he made. And I just love the conversation. He really didn't have anything to promote. He just came on and told us about
I'd love to have him on our show.
Yeah,
I'll give you his contact. He's
yeah, I'd love to.
And a great conversation. Listen,
wouldn't that be great, Mary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's super.
I just like the conversation.
You started during COVID, didn't you?
Yes, we did.
We did too.
That's exactly what we did.
I
Talking
think a
about
lot of
carving out a new life.
5 years. Yeah.
A lot of podcasts were given birth during COVID because we couldn't get out of the house. So,
Mhm.
but I think you have a great demographic and you provide a great service. At the very least, the service you provide is being a friend to people who are not sure about the last third of their life and what direction they want to go in. And
You're
that's a
so
wonderful
right.
service.
And it's interesting because more and more older people are listening to podcasts now. And
Yes.
it's
Yeah, when
especially
we
between
first started it, it was like, what's a podcast?
Oh,
Now they say, but how do I listen to it? And you have to
Yeah.
give them a link. You have to spoon feed them the link
No,
because
you do, especially
people
our
don't
young people.
realize it's on everything. Just turn
our
it
young
on.
people,
Yeah.
the Gen Xers and all that.
Yeah.
It has replaced radio in their lives. When they're in the car,
Absolutely.
Radio's gone.
they listen all the time, and it's fantastic.
It
And
is.
Oh yeah.
I think it's just getting started.
So I have to ask you, Fritz, because I'm curious. You've been on so many TV shows with so many famous people, and I'm curious, who influenced you? Who's had the biggest influence in your career and in your comedy?
Well, I think the person that made me want to be on TV the most was Johnny Carson and Bob Hope.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought their charm and their ability to offhandedly be so funny and convulse the 500-person audience, I thought that was just fantastic. As a comedian, my great inspiration was George Carlin.
Ah.
When I was in 11th grade, my uncle gave me tickets to see George Carlin in concert at a performance venue on the East Coast called the Valley Forge Music Fair. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania, and every summer these East Coast cities would have these music fairs where they would put up a big tent like a Cirque du Soleil tent, and it could fit 3,000 people, and it was an outdoor but not really outdoor venue. And he gave me tickets to see George Carlin. And I'd never seen anybody do a complete, what we say, comedy set, like an hour and a half show on their own. I mean, I'd seen comedians on the Ed Sullivan Show, on the Johnny Carson Show, do 5-minute snippets, but I never saw anybody do a whole show. So I went to see this Carlin show, and he talked for 90 minutes flawlessly. And what I loved about him was his wordplay. He was a great master of the English language, and that was most of his act. And he just convulsed this 3,000 person audience with his own words and his own thoughts. And it was I'm telling you, I'm not exaggerating when I say it was a religious experience. I felt like I was watching a TV evangelist for the first time. He just knew how to work the crowd, and it changed my life. Now, I never thought I could do it professionally until I got older, but it endeared me to him. And then another hero of mine was Robert Klein, who was another charismatic, wonderful performer as well. So I have the old school guys that are my heroes.
Sure. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, and speaking of old school guys, do you think retirement is an outdated concept for creative people?
Yes, 1,000%. I'm glad you brought that up. First of all, I think I'm doing the best writing of my career now.
Oh, good.
Because, 50% of the joy of stand-up for me is the writing process. I discipline myself pretty well. I do an hour or two every day of either rehearsing what I've written or writing new material.
Oh.
And that routine is very important to me. And because, it's part of my performance process, but it also, as I say, keeps my mind stimulated. And I'm doing the best writing of my life. And I never, as I said to you before, I'm having success in theaters greater than I had when I was a younger man. So I am the manifestation of what you're talking about. Is your career doesn't end with retirement. Plus, physically and medically, we're having longer lives now. I mean, if somebody dies at 72 years old or something, you say, oh my God, that young man. People are living in their 80s and 90s now. So you can retire from work at 65 and have 25 or 30 years in front of you.
Right.
And if you can find a productive way to utilize that time, you're in golden shape.
That's
Absolutely.
great.
I know.
We love that because we have a lot of
Oh,
guests that talk about that. It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
and
Fabulous.
and I have friends in their 80s who are really doing more now than they've ever done before, and it's
Me
very
too.
exciting.
You know
So
what's really interesting? Our generation, the boomers, have more expendable capital. We have more savings than the Gen Xers and the Gen Zers and the whatever comes after that group. Because for the first time in American history, and this is sad in a way, but not for our generation, they're not, you always want your children to do better than you are. Well, it's not happening. Financially,
Mhm.
it's not happening. So we have this money. I find that people our age are going out and engaging in doing theater and live performance, and they're getting involved in other things more so because they have the wherewithal to do it. And I think it's the best generation. As I close my act with, and I don't want to give you this. I have a whole section toward the end of my act that says I've never been happier in my life than I am right now, and I talk about why.
Oh, I love that. Can't wait to
Yay.
see it.
Yeah.
Me
Love
too.
it. And
Me
you,
too.
talking about your writing, you've always described comedy as truth-telling in disguise. So, what truths are you most passionate about sharing these days?
Well, it's just in general terms, the truth of everybody's aging process. Really, that's where the laughs come from. I'm not a joke teller. I say amusing things within stories. And I think what gets laughs in my show is the recognition of the familiarity of what I'm describing. People are
Mhm.
going, yes, I had that happen yesterday. Yes, I take too many pills. Some are so small I drop them on the carpet and can't find them. All that stuff is. I just think the truer the observation, what happens is my comedy comes from finding the truth, the nugget of truth in a concept, and then exaggerating it and ginning it up with adjectives and everything to make it amusing. And that's what gets the laughs. It's a laugh of recognition of the truth.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
You've said that people underestimate the second half of life. So
I,
what
I
would you say has surprised
yeah,
you most about your own? What's the
yes.
most
Well, as I've said it in different ways, I never thought I'd be this happy at this phase of my life.
Hmm.
Because I'll tell you, I was afraid to retire from my profession because I watched my father, who was the classic post-World War II businessman, whose entire identity was his work. He didn't read books. He didn't go to movies. He didn't go to plays. He did yard work, and then he got too old to do his own yard work, and that was the end of that. But all he did was work. He worked 12, 15 hours a day and exhausted himself, and he'd watch Wheel of Fortune and be in bed by 7:30. That was it. And over time, I watched this man implode slowly. His life just lost meaning. There was nothing to keep his enthusiasm or his heart or his soul going, nothing creative. And it scared me so much when I got to retirement age and said, oh my God, I hope that's not an hereditary trait because I don't want to be that way. My life is 180 degrees different than that. I'm busier than I've ever been. I'm doing what I love to do. I look forward to every day. And as I say, I've never been happier in my life than I am right now.
Your
I
father would be
love it.
very proud of you.
He was. He got to see some early success. You know, we had a complicated relationship. My father was an alcoholic, and he put up fences when he was an alcoholic, and it made it difficult to get really close to him until he was much older. We did repair our relationship, and it wasn't bad toward the end, but we wasted a lot of time when he was younger and I was younger. But so it was a different thing. It was a different world. You know, post World War II men who had lived through the Depression and World War II felt like, listen, I gave you a beautiful home in the suburbs of Philadelphia. You got 3 square meals a day. You have wonderful friends. You're not going to starve to death. You go to a great school. My job is complete. I don't have to give you the lovey-dovey emotional connection stuff. I'm the provider, and that's what he did, or at least that's what he thought he did. So it was a different time. There was no quality, and he didn't look for quality in his own life over and above what he did for us. You know.
Mm-hmm. Understood.
So Fritz, I have a threefold question for you.
Okay. All right.
What's next for you? Any new projects or directions you're going towards that excite you? And also, what would you have our audience have as a takeaway today?
Okay. The next phase in my life is this show that I'm doing now, Unassisted Living, is universal. Although I can sell tickets because I was on the air in LA for 40 years, so I can sell tickets between Santa Barbara and the Mexican border. What I would like to do is have somebody help me take this elsewhere in the United States and share it with everybody, because there's nothing regional or local about this act, except when I describe my job as a weatherman, which everybody understands, but it only takes up 2 or 3 minutes of the show. I would like to spread out and take it elsewhere. Now that my kids are all out of the house and my cat is no longer with us, I can leave for periods of time. I'd love to go work on the road a little bit, just, not crazy, a couple times a month, and take this show to other parts of the United States. And I would leave your audience with the message that you so beautifully described in your mandate for your podcast. It's never too late. I am so surprised that I am as energetic and as creative and as passionate about what I do at this phase of my life than I ever thought I would be. I was afraid to retire, and then I retired, and then I said, oh, it's the greatest aspect of my life. You no longer feel guilty about the mistakes you made with your children. You can raise your grandchildren and not be famished about it all the time. It's a great time of life.
I love
that. Oh, that's great. Fritz, thank you so much for joining us today.
I'm so happy. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to put your engineer on a retainer.
Oh, she's great.
For helping me solve my problems.
But thanks so much for sharing your humor, insight, and inspiration with us.
Well, you guys do a great job, and I wish you continued success. There are more and more boomers living longer, so I see only good things for your podcast.
Oh, you're great. Thank you so much. We love hearing how you continue to create and connect and make people laugh. And it's really a great reminder that the best chapters can come later in life, right?
100%.
And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in to Late Boomers.
And be sure to follow and subscribe whenever you listen to podcasts and wherever you listen to podcasts, and share this episode with someone who could use a little inspiration to start their next adventure. Because as Fritz says, it's never too late.
Yeah. I'm Cathy Worthington.
And I'm Mary Elkins.
See you next time on Late Boomers. Thank you for joining us on Late Boomers, the podcast that is your guide to creating a third act with style, power, and impact. Please visit our website and get in touch with us at lateboomers.us. If you would like to listen to or download other episodes of Late Boomers, go to ewnpodcastnetwork.com.
This podcast is also available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and most other major podcast sites. We hope you make use of the wisdom you've gained here and that you enjoy a successful third act with your own style, power, and impact.